are. We're not who we read about in the daily newspapers. This is who we are. Young, brilliant spirit. Malika Sanders, come forward and talk to us about reclaiming our majesty, reclaiming ourselves and our people.
I've come this far to freedom, and I won't turn back. I'm climbing to the highway from my old dirt track. I'm coming and I'm going, I'm stretching and I'm growing, and I reap what I've been sowing on my skins, not black. I've prayed and slaved and waited, and I've sung my song. You lashed me, you treated me, you done everything but feed me. But in time, I know you'll need me. And it won't be long. Cause I've seen the daylight breaking high above the brow. I found my destination and I made my vow. And whether you abhor me, deride me, or ignore me, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains, mighty mountains loom before me, and I won't stop now. Almighty Creator, please guide my words. Guide the hearts and minds of all of us who are present, that we only accept truth. We give thanks to our ancestors to help us to have the courage to take the mighty path that you have already created for us. Ashe. Ashe. The Daughters of Isis. That is such a powerful story, Mama Sanford, and I just want to say thank you. Amen. I just want to say thank you for sharing that story with us, because that is our charge. Our charge is to rise up as the mighty daughters of Isis and to remember the body of our people.
Exactly.
And I believe in order for us to remember the body of our people, that we must create a vision for ourselves that is more powerful than the vision of our oppressors for us. That's right. Yeah. We must create a vision for ourselves that is mightier than the vision that has been created for us. Okay. And I want to let us know that that is a mighty task. Because there are some folk out there who have a vision for us that is not about the daughters of being the daughters of Isis. That is not about our men being the mighty, powerful men that they are, like Osiris. It is not the same vision. And in order for us to create that vision and to make real that vision, we have to re-socialize our people. We have to re-socialize our daughters so that they will know they are the daughters of Isis. I believe that we must come together and figure out what that vision is. We must come together and figure out how to develop the institutions to make that socialization process real. I think our challenge is that takes so much work. It takes a lot of work, brothers and sisters. It means that we have to change everything that we have been taught that we are.
That's right.
It means that we have to reclaim the images of ourselves, that we have to reclaim the educational institutions, that we have to reclaim our sense of health care. We have to reclaim our political power. We have to reclaim every aspect of our lives. That means we have to be able to create something that we have never seen. We have to dream up something that we have never experienced. We have to create institutions that we do not know. But that is the power of the ancestors. That is the power of the ancestors in our lives. We can remember who we were and remember who we can be so that we will be exactly who it is that the Creator has called us to be. And I think that means that we have to bring together all of our people, the men and the women. There must be balance.
That's right.
And right now we are out of balance. We as a people are out of balance. In every institution that we know of, there must be the power of sisters present there. Far too few of us are involved in the political process as leaders. As leaders. Far too many of us are involved in the health process of our people as leaders. And we have that possibility and potential in us, and we must grab hold to it, because if not, our people will die. I am trying to tell us that without the power of the sisterhood, our people will die. We must form sisterhoods. We must form sisterhoods to create institutions to re-socialize our people. That is our charge.
Thank you, Monica. That is our charge. We're talking about recreating ourselves, but we didn't come from nothing. We come from a mighty race of people, but we have studied European history so long we've forgotten our own. This is our time for remembering. It's a time for action. And one of the most powerful things we have to do is really watch our minds and mind our mouths. The words that we use.
That's right.
The ways in which we think about ourselves. The ways in which we speak to our children, how we speak to our mates, how we speak to one another. Language is powerful. It has the power to heal or to hurt. We're going to ask to come forward now. Keisha Green. Please, Keisha. The youngest among us.
Well, first of all, I am the youngest on the panel, but by no means am I the youngest on the cruise. But I want to pay respect to all these phenomenal women that are surrounding me. I was so full, been sitting here trying to hold back some of that emotion, because we are surrounded by so many beautiful women. And when I look in your faces, I see myself, and I'm drawing from that, and that's what keeps me going. As an educator in Brooklyn, some of the classes that I teach are communication courses. And we're talking about language and creating a new language. So when we were discussing ways of accomplishing the charge and the challenge, the hows and the whats and how are we going to do this, language is a huge part of that. We're talking about how are we going to do this. Well, we got to start with language or use language. Trisha Rose writes a book, Longing to Tell, and she came to Columbia University and sort of proposed the idea of sisters creating a new language, or perhaps remembering the language that we were using. So when I think about that, and in my courses, communication courses, we're talking about what we say and understanding that words are incredibly powerful. Words shape your universe, and what you say is what you walk into. So as an educator, I am very mindful of how we construct our sentences and how we greet one another. We can think of when we're on the street, how are we greeting our sisters? What are we saying to each other to empower each other, to edify one another? There's actually, I was reminded in the September issue of Essence, there's actually a bit of what happens. There's a quote that one woman says. She says, "I have a lot of friends, but I don't trust women." So I'm thinking, okay, what's that about? And we've heard that before. I have a couple of girlfriends because I don't want to have so many girlfriends. I can't trust women, or be careful about women around your men, or what kind of woman you invite in your space. And for me, that raises questions. And as an artist and activist and educator in Blackout Arts Collective, we ask a lot of questions and encourage our youth to sort of think about these questions and come up with answers. What are we saying? Beasley yesterday, Sandra, I'm not sure she's here, not yesterday, but when she was on the panel about the board versus Topeka, Kansas, we were talking about good hair, bad hair, and those things that we perpetuate, the stereotypes that we perpetuate through language. So thinking about, what is good hair, what is bad hair, why do we even say that, and why are we continuing to say that? And on our blocks and neighborhoods, what are we saying to the children that are running up and down the streets? When Oprah went to Africa, she made sure that her staff spoke to each child and said something positive, said that you are beautiful, you are wonderful, hold your head up. I remember her working with a little child, and she was way, way down, 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 And Oprah was like, I have to get way down to look at you and sort of help her lift her head. And I think a way to do that is through language. Robin Kelly, Trisha Rose, those are some of the scholars in the city that are encouraging us to dream and to think of new ways and new ways of speaking. So a language of love, a language that, and part of that is sort of, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting the same results, that's the definition of insanity, right? So you're doing the same thing the same way, and you're never examining or analyzing what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's insanity. So coming up with a new way to produce your desired new results. Also, changing the way you think, that means you have to take in new information. And that new information, when you take something out, if we're taking something negative out, we have to replace it with something positive that you can draw on. So changing your mind, renewing your mind, changing the way you think, which is also going to influence the way you believe about yourself, the self-esteem that you have, and that is contagious. So if I begin to think that I'm wonderful, think that I am brilliant, and using the information that, now I hope that I can call Grandma Fatima, thinking back on my own experience, I didn't have that information coming through school. So in the language of our curriculum, as you ladies have been talking about earlier, the language of our curriculum, what we're saying in the classroom is tremendously affecting our students, and sort of understanding that we are what we come from. And I can feel, the power when I'm looking at my students, 7th and 8th graders I had this summer. I'm looking at my beautiful young girls, and just sort of they're watching videos, and we're looking at magazines and sort of dealing with this idea of objectification and the language that are used towards our women, and how do we change that? Part of Longing to Tell in Trisha Rose's book examines, when we're looking at hip hop music, the language that's being used. So just trying to pull out and sort of confront and acknowledge and deal head on with the way we are talking, the way we are speaking to one another, and examining and hoping that it is a language of love, it is a language that heals, it is a language that supports one another. Sister Tama, hopefully later she'll speak, but there's a song that we are one family and they can't separate us, and sort of not, it's one thing to say it, but to believe it and to put the action next to it.
Right.
I challenge myself to find the most positive way to say what I have to say. How do we correct someone without criticizing them?
Right.
So often we demean and diminish our children. How often have you wanted to just stop a sister and say, let me help you with the baby?
Yeah.
Because that's a 2-year-old and he's not an MF, he's not all the things that you're calling him. And we have to be brave enough to do that, because I was a single mother, and I can understand the stress that women have when they have children and they don't have the resources to take care of them well. So all that we're talking about today really begins with us. It begins in our hearts and in our homes and in our minds as we move from this incredible experience and go out into the world, taking all that we are learning here, all that we're being reminded of more than learning, because these are all the things that we know. We are so powerful. We are so powerful. We have so much. We want to hear, before we come back to Sister Adelaide, we want to hear from a young sister who is of Haitian ancestry, who was born in Haiti, and who is going to speak to us from her perspective about her thoughts about young Haitian women, Haitian American women. So let me bring to you Theluzma Cadet.
I'm going to start with an African proverb. If you educate a man, you educate an individual. If you educate a woman, you educate a family. We have always been the backbone of our community. Whether we are referring to American women, Jamaican women, African women, or Haitian women, women of African descent have always exuded strength. As Mother Adelaide highlighted our history and heritage, we need to ask ourselves, how can we bring that strength to the forefront right here, right now? Personally, as a school social worker, I plan, and I'm on the child study team, I plan to advocate for brown children. Our children have been labeled ADHD, ADD, etc. And we have people who are educating our children who does not have their interests at heart. So, I'm gonna be part of that team. What I plan to do is to go out into the community, speak with Haitian mothers, speak with Black mothers, just to let them know what's going on. We are usually buried in paperwork just so we are so weeded, so we cannot do the work. And especially when we refer to Haitian families, they have the language barrier. So I'm very grateful that I'm gonna be in that position where I can teach them to advocate for themselves and their children. And it doesn't just stop with the school. Education is the #1 thing that can free us. Not the clothes we put on our backs, not the shoes we wear, but education. If we could start by liberating our children through good education and people who care.
That's right.
In the Haitian community, there's a high illiteracy rate. So what I did, I got training to be a tutor. So I also plan on working with older Haitian adults who do not know how to read, or anyone who would be interested in learning English, because words are powerful. Understanding information is powerful. So what I want to leave you with today is that we have it within us in this room. No one else. We have it within us. We don't need to look to Susan Taylor. We don't need to look to Mother Adelaide. We need to look to ourselves. And we have the support of the panel. We have people who have paved the way for us. Every time I read, I just get such a joy because there was a time we were not allowed to do that.
That's right. That's right. Come on.
And it's a shame now. They say if you want to hide secret from a Black person, put it in a book. What are we talking about? People have paved the way. I am very proud of my Haitian background. I am very proud of what we have done. As you guys have heard from many of the panels since Saturday, there's people who's trying to stop us. There's people who do not want to see Black people rising. But we have always overcome. And can nothing stop us. Together. Together. And also, while we were discussing this panel, we represent, we are the people who's about the work, but also we need to let the sisters who's struggling, single mothers, people who are drug addicts. You know, I was a drug and alcohol counselor prior to getting my MSW. I was working in a halfway house. They are hopeless. We need to go there and have them become one of us. Teach them, not give to them, teach them.
That's right.
Show them. I can't look at my nose. It's only by the grace of God that I am here. It could have been you.
Yes, easy. Come on.
So whether we are sitting very nicely, we have our comfortable homes, give God the thanks, but let's bring the rest of us up. So together, when they're coming, we could stand together and say, you're gonna have to break down the gate because we are not going anywhere.
It was interesting to hear our Haitian sisters and brothers speak about not knowing their own history, having to leave their country to really revisit the history and to learn about how powerful that history is. And so we've asked Sister Adelaide, who is just one of the foremost proponents of a curriculum of inclusion and has done so much work around that issue and has engaged us all throughout the country to move this issue forward, to come and speak to us about its power, its possibility, and certainly its importance. Sister Adelaide Sanford.
In the African tradition, education is a core value. In ancient Egypt, It was the priests who were teachers. And they studied for 40 years to go into the noble profession of education, leading out of a Latin word meaning that you bring out the genius that's in your student. You do not assume that they come as an empty vessel to be filled with external information. But you understand that in the nucleus and core of their being is intelligence, creativity, resilience, capacity. Carter G. Woodson tells us that if you want to determine the behavior of a person, all you have to do is plot what they think about themselves. And if you can successfully make a people feel inferior, it isn't necessary to make a back door for them. For their feeling about who they are will cause them to make their own back door and enter therein. From Agassiz and Toynbee and Hegel, people of African ancestry were defined as ignorant, savage, primitive, and that followed us historically until in the United States and in New York, government programs labeled us disadvantaged, culturally deprived, at risk. These are not descriptions, they are directives. They were saying, this is what you will become. And curriculum, all that we learn in schooling, in advertisement, in the world of beauty and cosmetics, becomes curriculum for us. The children start to school young. And while we condemn violence, the nursery rhymes are violent.
That's right.
There's stories of burning people in the furnace. There's stories of eating up grandmothers. There's stories of dysfunctional and despotic fathers who say you go to the tower and spin the straw to gold and don't leave until you do. This is an abusive father. The story of the three bears. Suppose that were an adolescent male of African ancestry, and he went in and broke into the house and broke up the furniture, ate up the food, and slept in the bed. Would it be classical literature? Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. He was totally destroyed. This is what we teach our children from the earliest time of their lives in the American school system. Not realizing that that's a curriculum that takes away the edge from violence. It also teaches us something else. That if you're beautiful, you can do bad things. And it's all right. That's what it teaches us. Because the witches are black. Evil. Storm clouds are black. Black hens lay no eggs. Black cows give no milk. This is curriculum from the earliest childhood stages. Curriculum should lift up. The proverbs that come out of our African tradition teach character. They teach power. They teach nobility. They teach sacrifice. It isn't about me. The classical curriculum of people of African ancestry isn't even a thou shalt not. It is I have not. I have not dammed the river. I have not polluted the stream. I have not put extra weight in the measure.
That's right.
I haven't taken milk from the children. I have not quenched a needed fire. It isn't about greed, it's about need. So what the children learn in school and in the community, and what comes out of your mouth to the children, is curriculum. While we struggle to get public school systems to adopt a curriculum that will elevate and liberate because the educational system in America was not based on the liberation of people of African ancestry. It is an education of dependency. It is an education that makes you feel that the power and the strength and the money is in the hands of the oppressor, and that you don't have any power. My grandmother tells me that when she came from West Africa, she was sold with a family that had a little girl the same age that she was. And one of the first things that the old miss said to her, "Comb your hair." And she gave her a very fine-toothed comb, which was her comb. It wouldn't go through my grandmother's locks. So she said to my grandmother, "You have bad hair." The truth of the matter is, it was an inappropriate tool. There's nothing wrong with her hair. There's nothing wrong with our children. It is a tool that is applied to them that doesn't function for them. And then they are labeled in pejorative ways. The change in curriculum will be the responsibility of the people who understand who they were. The warrior people who say, "No, you will not teach my child that. You will not call my child special education. You will not say that my child is dyslexic." Anytime you see a normal, melanated child of African ancestry, boy or girls, they're going to be moving and thinking. They're not going to be sedentary with their head stuck in a book. They want the reality and the gem of life. Now, it's been difficult. And the reason that it's been so difficult to change curriculum is because it speaks to the heart of our power. When you understand that when you're told that everything about you is wrong, the way you think, the way you speak, the way you look, then you are being socialized away from yourself. But an education that validates you and that labels the issues as springing from a life of oppression is a liberating education. And that's what we must struggle for. Will it be easy? No. How long will it take? As long as caterpillars become butterflies. As long as salmon bruise their bodies, swimming upstream to spawn. As long as the crocus pierces the frozen earth in perfect formation. As long as geese fly in a flock because they know the power of flock rather than individual. That's how long we will keep the idea of a curriculum of liberation and fight for it and struggle for it and express it through our lives and through our vision, so that our children will be locked into a prison that says, "You are beautiful, you are handsome, you are perfect, you don't have to change anything about yourself. You just have to find the depths of the genius within you." For the only kings and queens that came across this globe came from the continent of Africa.
Our strengths. We have everything that we need, we have. It's within us. Everything that we need is right here. And if I can't bring it out of myself, my sister can bring it out. So we have strength when we bond with each other. We learn from each other, we educate each other. We have traditional means of passing on information, values, culture. We have pathways that have been passed down for eons from one generation to the next generation. We used to have something called age groups, where you went with your age group and you were educated. There have been efforts here in the diaspora to recreate those systems, those rites of passage that exist, that help to make us whole. We want to open up our microphones, and I'm going to pose a question to one of our panelists, and after she speaks, see if there are any questions or any comments that we want to get from the brothers and sisters that are here in our gathering today. I want to pose this question to Sister Catherine Thomas. Okay, so come on, my sister. You have worked with sisters at Union Temple Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. for years doing the rites of passage. Can you tell us what the benefits have been for the young women that you have worked with?
Good afternoon, my sisters and brothers. Good afternoon. The primary benefit of rites of passage programs is to instill in our youth those traditional values that will ensure not just their survival, but that they will carry on those values that we, not somebody else, deem to be critical to their success. And first of all, that starts from within, to let them know who they are, that they are the descendants of queens and who those queens were, things that they may never have known before, to let them know that in the tradition of a Harriet Tubman, and we do things like have a replication of the Underground Railroad, that they can survive, that they can make it, that they can be leaders if this sister went back 19 times to bring back other brothers and sisters. This is our charge as well. And she did it by first listening to the Spirit of God. And that's where it all starts. Our program at Union Temple Baptist Church is spiritually based and African centered. Because we recognize that as African people, it all begins with the Spirit. That is the force that will allow you to achieve whatever it is you need to achieve. And it is our responsibility to go back in the tradition of Sankofa and recover what we have lost. And we have lost a lot, but we are regaining what we have lost. And one of the things that I want to make sure everybody is aware of, and in this group I'm sure that everyone is, but just the very name rites of passage, there's been some confusion about. But simply put, a rite is a ritual.
That's right.
That reinforces the principles that guide your society. And one of the ways that we implement these rites at the program that we've been doing at Union Temple, and I must add that not just for the young ladies, but for the young men as well, is to begin at that early age of introducing the girls to pouring libation. If our girls were here today, this would have been nothing new for them, because they participate in it. They know what a pouring libation is. They know what it means. They know why we pay homage, why we must pay homage to our ancestors. Having Adinkra symbols and the meaning of those symbols communicated so that it becomes something that is instilled in their lives and in their value system, starting each session with a proverb that's appropriate to whatever that lesson of the day is going to be. And this kind of program can be replicated throughout the country. It's not something that can only be done in a church setting. It can be done wherever you are. It can be done in whatever organization you are affiliated with. And we have begun to recognize that much of what we do has not been documented. And that is something that we have to be much better at doing. And if there are sisters in the audience who would like to know more about what the specifics are that we do at the Rites of Passage program at Union Temple, I would be happy to speak with them, share emails, because we do have materials, because we recognize that being in the forefront of this type of activity for 20 years when others thought it was something strange, and then now finding out that people are calling from all over the country wanting to know just how did we do it? What do you do? And we had to start writing down what it was and providing examples so that others can share in the knowledge that we have been able to gain through much trial and error over these past 20 or more years.
Catherine, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What would the 3 core values be that you try to impart to the young people? What would they be?
Well, I would say certainly the Nguzo Saba, the principles, and I'm just speaking generally, the principle of giving back to the community. We have, this year we have a young lady who went through our program as an initiate, because we do everything in a ceremonial, ritualistic fashion, because this is important. This is what our African ancestors have done, who has come back to be one of our new sponsors, which is what we call our mentors, and who can relate, because she is still young, can relate to the girls in a way that I just can't because of the age difference. The principles of Ma'at are taught. The difference between the Afrocentric way of